for those of you joining us, we have the pleasure of hearing from Tonya Manning, who's the U.S. Wealth Practice Leader and Chief Actuary at Buck, and the current President of the International Actuarial Association as my guest on this Emerging Leaders call today. Tonya, I actually want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your experience with the professional association. So you're clearly an awesome volunteer for the Conference of Consulting Actuaries. You've done a lot for this organization. You've been president of the SOA. You're currently president of the IAA. For you, what has been the value in actively participating with these various professional associations, and how do you make time for it all?
Okay, well, first of all, I definitely have the volume versus, I don't know if I have the quality of the volunteering, but I definitely have the volume. Some people have golf as a hobby. I think I have volunteering as a hobby. And it really is, you asked, how do I have time? I mean, that is how I spend a lot of my extra time. I enjoy it. But I guess your real question was, why? I had someone in all sincerity come up to me and ask me, why did you want to be president of the IAA? And it wasn't like, I'm curious, but like, why would anybody want to do this thing? I mean, it's like a lot of work.
Why would anybody in their right mind want to spend more time?
I don't know if they were expecting me to say, oh, I get a salary, which I don't, or I don't know, you get a private jet, right? There's none of that, I mean, no. It's very different than that. And as I mentioned, I was an early adopter to volunteering, and maybe the SOA did a really good sales job at my fellowship admissions course, but I signed up to start writing questions. But even before then, I had been volunteering to speak. And initially it was just a sense of giving. The speaking part was to gain new skills. I felt like it was really important that I be able to do presentations and do those well, especially being in the consulting field, as everyone on this call is, and being able to go to an enrolled actuaries meeting, which is where I first presented, and to present to your peers and survive, which is really what I did. I just survived that first presentation, but to survive.
I think most of us do on that first presentation. I've got a similar story there.
I can give you some laughs about that, but let's just say there was an overhead projector involved. Not for me, my co-presenter. Nonetheless, I learned a lot of things just going through that process, and it did help me become a better presenter. But the best part was it helped me become a better presenter because in a risk-free environment, and that is followed through in all of my volunteer opportunities. Is I get to try out, how are you leading this type of group, or how are you doing this type of technical work, or how are you drafting this type of document? I do this in a risk-free environment, and that doesn't mean that you're free from doing a good job when you're a volunteer. It just means that there isn't as much at stake. No one's going to fire you. They may ask you to please quit volunteering if you're really bad, but that's pretty rare. So it gives you this risk-free opportunity to try out new skills, things that maybe you want to see if you enjoy doing or you want to get better at doing. So my first role as speaking, I wanted to get better at it. And the second one, writing for exams, was to give back to the profession. I felt like I had been really blessed to kind of stumble upon this awesome career that combined analytics and consulting and all these things that ended up being so much fun. And I wanted to give a little bit back. Ultimately, as I got into more leadership roles, it wasn't just giving back, but it was trying to make sure I was influencing where the profession was going. That was definitely a driving force as I got involved with the Society of Actuaries, just on the Pension Section Council, then board, and then as president, was to have some influence on some pretty important things that could impact where the profession was going as a whole. And with the International Actuarial Association, of course, that opens the door for that in a global sense. And just thinking about how we are setting our standards for all actuaries across the world, and what is that minimum level of professionalism that we want to have for our self-disciplined profession is really important. And I like being part of that conversation and knowing that my work is going to hopefully keep us as a very well-respected, very relevant profession that has that high level of professionalism and everything else that comes with it. I can't imagine how my career could have turned out or would have turned out if I hadn't had all my volunteer experiences. It's given me, I feel like, more than I've given it. It's just set me in the right pace. And that's all of the, the getting the job done answer. But then there's the fun answer too, Michael. And that's the networking. And there's the professional networking. That has been really critical for me to all of these really brilliant actuaries that I watch speak at these meetings, to eventually be able to talk to them as peers when I have questions and want to walk through and understand how to approach certain things that I'm dealing with my job. Is it's just invaluable to have that network on a professional level, or if you're looking to make a decision to go in a different direction with their profession. I've reached out to people who I've never worked with, but they have given me advice in important career decisions. So there's the networking, and then just the friendship. I made so many amazing friends along the way, including a lot of women. I mentioned that, I haven't had a lot of opportunity to work with a lot of women in my career early on, but finding those volunteers and developing those friendships has provided me to have that kind of professional interaction that was needed, and I've really appreciated that as well.
Yeah, and I'll echo that. And I think especially the stuff that you've done with the women in consulting community within the Conference of Consulting Actuaries has been outstanding. That steering group that you're a part of, and the discussions that have happened online, and the different calls you guys have had, I think that's been very impactful. I want to maybe dwell on this for just a little bit longer. So you mentioned the personal benefits that you've received from volunteering within the profession, and I think a lot of times people, when they hear volunteering, they think only about that giving back component. But I mean, I can speak from my personal experience as well, that there is a lot that you gain personally, new skills, at that risk-free environment to more or less try new things. Talk to me a little bit about your perspective as an employer, right? As the chief actuary and head of a practice at a global firm, and your focus here on the U.S., but when you think about the importance of volunteering for the people that you manage, what would you say is your viewpoint on that? I'm thinking about it from the employer perspective. Why should employers care that their people actually volunteer for the profession?
I hope you see this at the CCA and other associations as well, but I'm a big supporter of giving our employees the opportunity to volunteer, so that I don't just selfishly get all these great opportunities, but they get them as well. And we are also supporting the profession, such as we've had a couple of Buck employees, Jim Barbarian, David Driscoll, I think even Andy Eisner. So at least 3 people supporting RPEC with the Society of Actuaries. Whether you like the tables or not, you can all agree that was a very important committee to be on. So that was great to support the Society of Actuaries, but that brought a lot of expertise back into our practice that we were able to leverage in doing things internally with our clients. We have David Driscoll's on the benefits, the ABCD, and he never shares anything inappropriate, but it does give him a perspective that we find value within our profession. We have lots of folks volunteering for the CCA, and they bring back great skills. I know we have a couple of board members right now. They're already good leaders, but it's going to give them an opportunity to grow those skills. It gives us visibility. We're always looking to network with people who would be interested in joining Buck. But all of that is like me, and what it's doing for Buck, but it's doing a lot to develop people. But what I've found with actuaries is they really like the opportunity to be part of these volunteer, not everyone, but a lot of them want to be part of these groups and get outside of Buck and meet other people and kind of contribute and be intellectually challenged in some of the volunteer opportunities, or be able to present. And I know that Troy, who is at Buck, is going to be presenting in Florida, and he's all keyed up about that. He's really excited. So it's like a benefit you can provide to your employees that, to me, you get much more out of it than you might spend on sending them to that conference or allowing them to attend those meetings. You get a lot back. They are creating networks that you're bringing back knowledge and connections into your association. So I'm a really big supporter of it. I think there's lots of ways that companies can watch their dollars, and there's appropriate times for that. 2020 may be on the radar for a lot of people. I think, Michael, you know that, and I know that from both of our associations' perspectives. But there's different ways to save a dollar, and cutting back on supporting your volunteers, I'm really hesitant to do, because I feel like it can be a pretty nice benefit that the employees will appreciate quite a bit. I don't know if you've observed that the same thing. That's my perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, I'm speaking from my own experience, right, the skills that I feel like I've been able to bring back to my employer and us as a firm, and the colleagues that I've had that have also volunteered, seeing all of that knowledge that gets brought back in, whether it's technical knowledge, consulting skills, just even down to branding and marketing sometimes, right, and how that can influence it. No, I absolutely appreciate all of that.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both know how to go through a rebranding exercise now, right?
That's right.
More than once I've done that. So when my company had to rebrand as we reformed into the new Buck, I knew how that was done. I was all over that. I've been down that path before. So.